right, food business in 2025. So every year, I pretty much try to take a moment to create a video to recap going into a new year, all about food entrepreneurship, a lot of things that may have changed, some other new experiences that I have had, and try to break that down into a few pointers, some few tips for the things that I've learned over the past year, and of course, over the past 14 years. A couple years ago, I did one of these videos about 2023. I think I posted one for 2024. But I'll have to double check. But 2025 is here, and we are now after the first month of the year. I wanted to break down 10 specific things that if you're looking to create a food business, pretty much no matter what type of business that may be, this can apply actually to anything from a food truck to a bakery. If you're doing a home-based business, if you're doing e-commerce, if you're starting your own brand and you're looking for a private label brand and you want some tips and pointers, all of these 10 things can actually apply to that. So let me just dive into a few things. It's not in any particular order. I'm going to go from number 1 down to number 10. So the first thing I wanted to touch base on with you guys is really the understanding and the importance of consistency, whether it be the product quality, whether it's customer service, in your branding message, building trust and loyalty with customers. Again, that could be over the counter with you creating a coffee shop. It could be over the window out of a food truck. You have customers coming up. Consistency and making sure that it's consistently the same along the lines of what your branding is, and of course what it is in regards to the quality of your food, being sure that if you have recipes, following them to a T, because customers will come to expect a certain flavor profile, a certain quality level, a certain customer service level. If it's online, answering customers feedback, if it's negative, positive, no matter what it is, being consistent is something that's very challenging, even for big brands, as a matter of fact. And everything is ever evolving when it comes to branding concepts, trying to reach a new audience, trying to even keep and maintain the customers that you have, whatever it may be. But definitely think about consistency. It's something that I still strive extremely hard for with the things that we make, to always follow, making sure that we are answering emails properly the same way that we would always do. If you have a brand, making sure that across all your social platforms, it's pretty consistent as well. Because when you begin to vary and you begin to stray away from that specific idea or concept of whatever it is that you're pursuing with food, you can end up losing customers, or someone will transition to a new product. Or if your service even is, you have a great product, but your service is not all that great and it sucks, people will leave your company. They're not going to go back to your product again. So consistency is something that has been very challenging over 14 years, and as I've learned, it's extremely important. Number two is actually dealing with unpredictable cash flow. Now, this is pretty much across the board for any industry, but I want to specifically talk about food industry specifically. Discussing the different things in regards to the challenges that people have managing cash flow. Also running the monthly, from month to month, running the business itself, in need of consistently having money come in and going out. Profitability is extremely challenging in the food industry, I'm not going to lie. The individual units, if you're selling individual product units, it's very low. But if you get to the point where you can maintain that responsibly, and you can be responsible with the money coming in and going out. I know for a fact, speaking from my own experience, month to month, some months we do dramatically well, tremendously good. We have a lot during the holidays. Of course, we do very well the last 3 or 4 months. Summertime and spring, sometimes it starts to mellow off. So we try to figure out other ways, other sources of income. If you're selling on one platform, I would highly recommend that you be on multiple platforms. I talk about that a lot here on my channel. If you want to be online e-commerce, having your own website is not going to cut it. Being on Etsy and your own website, these two, not going to cut it. You need to be on like eBay, Walmart.com, even some of them, Cratejoy, the subscription business. So cash flow is something that you're going to see is going to be unpredictable. It's going to fluctuate. Like I said, some of my months are gigantic and huge, but then I have a lot of vendors to pay and a lot of payroll to pay. So then that large amount of profit ends up going down into all of my other expenses. So then we have a very low or medium month or two that just kind of goes up and down slightly. You need to know that it's going to be unpredictable. If you have a food truck, you may want to look at having the opportunity to maybe have 2 or 3 food trucks in different locations. If you've got an online business and you're selling baked goods, you need to make sure you have a very vast menu that gives you the opportunity to appeal to a lot of different people, so you're not reliant upon one specific source of income, one specific product for income. So if you're into the mobile food business, maybe you have a hot dog cart. don't stop at just one hot dog cart. If you can save up and get yourself two or three, and you're operating two or three on the weekends or at different events, then your unpredictable income can kind of be stabilized a little bit, because maybe you're doing a lot over here, maybe you're doing a lot over there. So just know that the second thing I was talking about is the income. It's going to fluctuate. So understand that, but prepare for it and understand that you can do something about it. It's not something that's going to make you go under. So number three, this is something that took me probably 3 or 4 years to really get used to, but you got to adapt to the changing trends of consumer preferences and that type of a thing. I hear a lot about this with a lot of CPG brands, how staying ahead of trends for foods, packaging, customer preferences, flavor, taste, and profiles, healthier stuff, things that are not so healthy. You want to be aware that you should be able to pivot and understand that maybe what you're selling or what you're doing, the type of food product that you have, you may have to transition 2 years from now to maybe a different packaging, maybe something that's more health conscious, something that offers more nutrients, maybe something like that. If you're creating products that are just stuck in one particular place and you're not able to understand the power of pivoting and transitioning into something new, whether it's even a packaging size, maybe marketing's not working, but you need to pivot into some other way to get attention for it. But just know that that's something you need to be aware of. The trends and tastes, a lot of times, 6 or 7, 8 months, something may be hugely popular, and you're making that particular product. And then 2 months, 2 years from now, you're looking down the road and nobody's buying that. That can happen. And if you're reliant too much upon that one product and don't have the ability to transition into something else, that's going to be a problem for your business. So just keep that in mind too. If you're creative, you think outside the box. That's why a lot of restaurants change and transition even their menus. Food trucks, if you're doing a food truck and you see locally that the food you're making is not working, you need to transition into some other type of menu, because otherwise your business will go under. It's just that in the food industry, from my own opinion, what I have seen is that people's tastes, preferences, flavor profiles that really people enjoy or have appealing flavors can just be in one day and kind of out the next. That doesn't mean that you have to close your passion for food and you have to do that. A lot of successful restaurants, food trucks, even snack businesses and CPG brands that have been successful have listened to those trends and slowly transitioned or added something new to their menu. But just be aware that that's definitely something you're going to deal with. All right, so number 4. This is probably the most important thing out of the 10 things I'm about to tell you. I personally have transitioned my mindset. Number 4 is about learning from failures and mistakes. I personally, over the past few years, have changed the way that I look at success and failure. Everything should be a success for you. If something doesn't work, it's not a failure. It's just something that's not working. Make a decision to transition and do something that will work. The one thing you want to look at is really focusing on your ability to make decisions. Failures and successes, in my opinion, doing this for 14 years and having succeeded this long into the business, is that every single decision I've made has either just worked in the way I wanted to, or maybe it didn't. But I don't see it as a failure or success. It's a constant learning. So if you could open yourself up to the idea that your decision making is a learning process, it's not an end-all, be-all. A lot of people say, well, I closed my business because I failed so many times and it just ended it. Well, that's because you didn't have a mindset that, the decision I made over here just didn't pan out. So what can I do now? What is a new creative thing I can do? What can I make a decision about? Or what can I change that didn't work so I can make it work over here? If you have a mindset where you can constantly be making decisions that are a learning and educational experience, something that will better your business, no matter how it turns out, you'll be one of the few businesses that'll succeed and still be, after the average food business, whether it be a restaurant, food truck, or a CPG package brand. I've read an interesting article, it's like 2 to 3 years. Most of them close up after that. I've been doing this for 14. I have seen, trust me, some really lows, highs, and peaks and everything, but some seriously low situations and times over the past 14 years. But I didn't give up or give into it. I simply just made some new decisions and then transitioned into a new direction. That's going to happen. So if you're not really good at making decisions and you want to start your own business, just note that success and failure is really just a matter of making decisions. And if you're not good at making decisions, you need to learn that decisions will be made every single day. You're going to be making probably hundreds of them a day. And if you're running a business and starting it on your own, when I started this business, I was relying solely upon myself and my wife helping me bring that business into reality. But it was just us. Didn't have a mentor, didn't have anyone holding my hand. You simply need to start and go. Okay, number 5, probably another one that's really super crucial. And I've been fortunate enough to have an amazing partner in my business, which was my wife. And the two of us have built this business. I would not take credit for it all by myself at all. But number 5 is building a strong support network. So if you don't have a team, maybe you only have one person, and maybe it's just a couple, maybe it's just you and a partner, business partner. And that's all you need when you start. Just rely on each other, but having a partner who's willing to put the time and effort into helping you develop what you might see as your vision for a business. You may not both necessarily agree upon that, but having somebody there who's supportive with what you want to do or has a lot of input and can help you bring your vision to fruition, that is something that's really majorly important for succeeding in a food business, any business for that matter, but specifically about food. So over the past 20 years, I've been married to my wife. She has been the backbone of both the business, of course, and on a personal level, but the business itself. So if you find a good support team, and maybe you need a team, maybe just one person or a partner is not going to be enough to cut it. And if you do find a team of 4, 5, 6 people to help you bring that vision to life, that's a huge asset that you have. So you need to figure out some way to foster that environment for those 4 or 5 or whoever the team might be, so you can keep them long enough to bring even more of your ideas to life. If you've got a food truck, maybe you've got 2 or 3 employees, and if they're bending over backwards to make it work, those people are assets. So that's the support team that I'm talking about, and it's really crucial to have at least somebody else other than yourself behind that vision that you may have for whatever it is that you're wanting to do. All right, this one's interesting. So number 6 is actually the idea of understanding legal and regulatory challenges, which are really huge in the food industry, with food safety regulations, food handling importance, inspections, permits, and licenses. Just understand the type of business that you have, because every food business has a different form of regulation, if you will. In my opinion, I think they're just all the same. It's basically, you want to start a business, well, you have to have a business license. You might have permits or licenses for operating certain types of businesses within jurisdictions like cities or counties. But all in all, you're going to get regulated somehow. So understanding those can not necessarily make or break your dream. But I can just tell you from a lot of the consults and my clients that I've done with, the thing that's been holding them back is their misunderstanding of what is necessary for specifically permitting and licensing, inspecting. I want to start a home-based business, but am I going to get inspected? I want to do a food truck, but I didn't know there's almost 12 different permits and licenses I needed. So it's so confusing. So understanding, I think, one of the biggest forms of the business side of food business is regulation and permitting and licensing, insurance, those types of things, inspections. Just simply find out. If you check out my channels, I have a lot of great content. If you don't find it there, go to Google, go to find out what your city specifically requires, and then just start picking the brains of everybody there. If you're running a food truck, I know there's about actually 10 to 12 permits and licenses. If you're running a home-based food business, some states, there's absolutely none. There's no regulation at all. Florida is one of them. So the licensing and legal aspects of a food business is something that a lot of people get held up on, and it kind of hinders their dream or their goal of doing this type of a business. So that's something that over the years I've learned a lot about what would be needed and what's not. So definitely something about regulations and permitting is something you need to also look into as well. All right, so number 7. This one is all about the idea of marketing and branding. I don't care how good your food is, your food product, you can have the most amazing menu for a restaurant. Your food truck could have a just mind-blowing food, but if you don't market it, you're not going to grow that business. If you have a CPG brand, it's packaged food product you wanted to get online or even get into stores, you got to have some form of marketing. You have to let people know it's out there, and you need to let them know where to find it, and you need to inform them of what it is, or maybe there's benefits to eating it, maybe there's nutritional benefits, whatever it might be. Marketing, marketing, marketing. It doesn't matter your product. What matters is the marketing. Nike, a good example, Nike sells shoes, but there's a million other people who sell shoes all over the world. What differentiates them from anyone? It's the marketing. Apple, same consideration. Tablets, there's tablets galore, cell phones galore. But what makes Apple Apple? It's the marketing. Everything about a product or even service boils down to your ability to market it. So you don't necessarily now today with AI and chat GPTs and things, you don't need to have a marketing team or even be a marketing genius. There's a lot of ways that you can tap into existing software, even AI, that's out there that can create marketing Facebook ads for you. They can create an entire layout of marketing. You just prompt it and you can understand it, but you need to educate yourself not on just making food, not on the fact that you love to cook, but you have to understand marketing. And if you don't, then your food business probably won't exist a couple of years after you start it. You have to let people know where you are. You have to let people know what you have. You have to inform them and educate them. These are things you got to think about. It sounds daunting, but it really isn't. If you just give yourself some time to learn it and understand some of the basics, you can at least get the wheels moving and understand more about it. Okay, so number 8, this is the power of your customers' feedback. Believe it or not, we live, of course, as you know, in a time when if you're online, if you're doing e-commerce, for instance, people can give feedback on products instantaneously. And that has a ripple effect that happens to affect your business instantaneously too, good or bad. So customer feedback. So what I would say about that is you're not going to make everybody happy. Number one, get that out of your mind. If you're into pleasing everybody and making everyone happy and you can't stand getting that negative feedback, then do yourself a favor. Don't start a business. Just go get a job. Because you're going to get negative feedback no matter what you do. I have attempted to try to make everybody happy. I've done that, but that doesn't work. At the end of the day, I've realized, you know what? I'm going to put the best product I can forward. I'm going to be giving and offering the best customer service as I can. And if it's not enough, well, then we'll just move on to the next customer. Unfortunately, that's like that. You will bend over backwards to try to make some people happy, and it's just not going to happen. But there's also some things you can learn from negative feedback or even positive feedback. And a lot of times, if you pay attention to that, you may notice that in some cases, that negative feedback can only make your product better or make your business better. Now, that was one thing that Jeff Bezos was obsessed about. When he first started Amazon, he was focused always and throughout his whole building of Amazon, customer experience, not the product, not the service, the customer experience. And if you obsess over that and you can master that, you'll get a lot more happier customers than you will bad ones. So just keep that in mind. Even when you're starting small, if you go into farmers markets and you're from a home-based food business and you've got some people who love it at the farmers market and some people complain, just understand, hey, get some negative feedback, absorb it, but don't let it absorb you, okay? Just absorb what it is. Try to better yourself because of it, because not every bit of negative feedback is going to be something that someone's just hates your product. So keep that in mind, that feedback is something really important, especially if you're doing it online. Because, you're selling on platforms like Etsy, you're going to get feedback on eBay, Walmart.com, and all these other places. You're going to get people's feedback and take it and use it as to better your business. Definitely going to happen. All right, so I got 2 more things that I'm going to give you a little bit about. So number 9, the thing that comes to mind would be scaling your business, your food business, without losing the quality of the product or the menu. Again, this can apply to food trucks, restaurants, CPG packaged food products, whatever it might be. If you are at the point where you are starting from home and you have maxed out, you're beginning to get too many orders. When you begin to scale, you're going to have some growing pains. You're going to have some issues with finding the right commercial kitchen or team to help you scale at that level. If you're going to go to a co-pack or a private label company to help you co-pack the product and make it for you at scale, that's going to be a learning experience and you're going to have growing pains. What do I mean by that? You're going to be outputting a lot more money, resources, a lot more time dedicated to your relationship with the co-packer. Whoever you're distributing it to, if it might be a grocery chain, you're going to have there's going to be a lot more levels where you're going to need a team to help you achieve that scale without losing the quality of the product. Sometimes I've actually heard some horror stories where people have gone to co-packers, they're mass producing their product, and the product they put out was not even close to what they wanted as far as recipe, packaging, the quality, the consistency, everything. So scaling a food business, even if it's a food truck, maybe you want to open up 2 or 3 different food trucks, but maintaining that quality while you're doing that is very challenging. And you're going to get to that point. I mean, eventually you're going to be where you're not going to be able to make it all yourself or do it yourself, okay? So what I would highly recommend is that you definitely look into maintaining quality as well as quantity, because you're scaling. So if you're working with co-packers, you need to build that relationship with them to the point where they're going to put out a product that's exactly as you expect it to be, even if you have to monitor that extra or if you have to go above and beyond. That's something that a lot of food businesses have troubles with because of that fact. So if you're looking to produce a product and scale, make sure you stay on top of it because it's going to be something you're definitely going to deal with. Lastly, here is going to be number 10. This is what makes or breaks pretty much any and every food business I have ever read about, learned about, heard about. And it's something that I've adapted to be in business as long as I have been, is persistence and your ability to adaptability. And what I mean by that is that you're going to notice over the first 2 or 3 years, you're working very diligently to start the business and establish the business. But the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th year, then you're going to begin to either learn how to scale it, or you're going to be a little bit more complicated. You're going to have the idea of trying to build it, not only establishing it, but it's once establishing, scaling that and building it. That's where persistence and dedication, and it's going to be a lot more on your shoulders than it was when you first started. It doesn't become easier, it becomes harder. So if you're not the kind of person who is persistent, also has the ability to adapt and change, because change will happen. Again, moving from just a couple 100 bags of your product at home, let's say, now you're doing a couple 100,000 bags a month or whatever that might be. You need to understand that as you go, you need to grow. And it's going to require a lot of diligence and patience and persistence. This is where the strength and ability of your vision for yourself within your own mind, how strong your vision is for it, and no matter what is going to happen between point A to point B, to see it through to where you really want it to be, it's not going to be easy. And I can tell you mentally over the past 14 years, it's exhausting. Some days are beyond exhausting, trying to grow or keep maintaining what I've got or what I've already initiated, what I've built, or even trying to grow it even more and scale it. It's something that's beyond challenging. It's going to take as much effort and energy as you've got available. So the last thing I was just to say is that persistence and diligence and like stick-to-itiveness, a lot of people today lack the ability to stick with something, even if it begins to get hard, challenging, or dramatic, or whatever you want to put it, whatever label you want to put, you have to stick with it. That's the only thing I can recommend you do. So I hope this helps some of you aspiring food entrepreneurs, or if you just started and you're on the fence about whether you should continue to do this or not. Hopefully these 10 things, specific things, kind of help you out. So if you have any questions, let me know down below, and I'll see you guys in our next video.